The 500 greatest albums from the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger's, and
No, the Rolling Stone magazine, not
it's the magazine?
yeah, it's the magazine.
It's a magazine.
It's not their 500 because I don't think they even had 500 albums, but they had a lot,
I was
but
gonna
not
say that's
500.
like more than Ryan Adams and Taylor Swift put together, but okay.
Okay.
Rolling Stone Magazine's top 500 albums. We're breaking them all down, a few of them anyway, on today's Round of Beer Thursday.
Thanks for having me
Haley is
back.
back.
Thank you.
Haley, our Taylor Swift expert, also listened to all 500 of the Rolling Stone Magazine's top 500 albums.
That's dedication right there.
And
Yeah,
she's going to
yeah.
break down every single one of them right now.
No,
4
no,
minutes.
I don't think every one of them. I think she's just gonna.
It's going to be a very long podcast.
That's so long.
Yes.
But we're stealing these questions from your Instagram friend
Yeah.
who asked really great questions to break it down, to sum it up.
Yeah.
Now, Haley, what were those questions?
Okay, so I decided to do this on January 1st, 2021, and then I finished in September of 2022. So it took about a year and a half. And what I did is I made a spreadsheet because I'm very type A and I needed to be organized with all of the albums listed out by name, the year that they came out, the genre, and then a column of whether just a yes or a no of whether or not I would listen to them again. Because
Okay.
trying to rank them or even like give them like a number on a scale, I was like, that's too much. Let's just do, would I listen to it again? Yes or no? And since this was a while ago, I don't remember all of the details, but luckily my friend Sarah, shout out Sarah, commented on the Instagram post I made, and she said, "What were the standouts for you? Any surprises?" And I do have my response to that question. So I can answer via that to you, Shane and Jay.
I love it. Let's
We'll
hear it.
get to that in the next exciting round.
No, we're gonna do it now.
Right now. Okay. We'll get
Okay. I said, well, I loved listening to pretty much everything that came out in the 60s and 70s in the blues, soul, and R&B genre. Without naming individual albums, those artists that were on the list were Robert Johnson, Etta James, Muddy Waters, Ray Charles, Sam Cooke, The Ronettes, B.B. King, Otis Redding. I named my cat after Otis Redding, by the way.
Did you really? Oh,
Yes, I
that's
did.
awesome.
That's why
That's
her name is
awesome.
Otis.
Very
The
cool.
Four Tops, Little Richard, Curtis Mayfield, Marvin Gaye, Bill Withers, The Temptations, Stevie Wonder, Ike and Tina Turner, Aretha Franklin, Al Green. All of those albums, love. I just love that time period.
Wow.
Like, especially like the blues and the soul. Like I remember like really loving the Muddy Waters albums. I really went through a whole phase with that whole time period with the music after getting into those albums.
Yeah.
That is some
Um,
excellent taste in music.
oh,
Yeah, it
no,
is.
thank you. I don't listen to anything or everything. I like to at least give it a chance, because that's the only way to discover new things. And then going back further in time, all of the Elvis albums, as well as Wee Small Hours by Frank Sinatra, I really loved.
Okay.
Very
And then
cool.
moving up in time, I enjoyed listening to all of the Beatles, Tom Petty's, Elvis Costello, Bruce Springsteen, Michael Jackson, Bob Marley. I've always loved Bob Marley and Bruce Springsteen
Nice.
anyway. Joni Mitchell, her Blue album, fantastic. The first time I heard A Case of You, I cried. Tapestry by Carole King, great album. The Stranger by Billy Joel. We love Billy Joel here. Rumors by Fleetwood Mac, the self-titled album by Eagles, Night at the Opera by Queen, and the Blue Album by Weezer were up there as well.
Okay.
Mm.
And then I'll say the surprises that I had that maybe I didn't expect to like immediately love just based on like the genre or the artist were going to be Nick of Time by Bonnie Raitt, Weight of These Wings by Miranda Lambert, Coat of Many Colors by Dolly Parton, because I don't usually love country, especially older country, which I know is kind of the opposite of what a lot of people say. Like if people say they don't like country, they don't like modern country, but they love the
Yeah.
older stuff. I never really got into older country, but I really enjoyed listening to it here. Rain Dogs by Tom Waits really surprised me. That was a really interesting creative album. And then the Freewheelin' Bob Dylan and Blood on the Tracks, because I've never super enjoyed Bob Dylan's music, but I found myself really enjoying those albums. And I love the movie that came out too. Shout out Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, yes,
Shout
absolutely.
out.
That was a great movie.
Mhm. And
Walk deep.
then breaking it just into two more categories. Rap. I loved all of Biggie's albums, all of Jay-Z's albums, all of Kendrick's albums. I'm a big Kendrick Lamar fan. His halftime show was great. Frank Ocean, Man on the Moon by Kid Cudi. Those are all I really enjoyed. And then more modern time albums, like modern for recency. Of course, 1989 and Red were on there. Melodrama by Lorde, which is an incredible album if you haven't listened to it. Melodrama is wonderful. American Idiot by Green Day and The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. Two of my favorite albums of all time anyway. I'd already
Oh my
known.
God. I'm
Actually,
with you.
all of these
100%.
modern albums I already knew, but I already
Yeah.
loved them anyway. Golden Hour by Casey Musgraves is a wonderful album. Fine Line by Harry Styles, great. Continuum by John Mayer, great. For Emma by Bon Iver is wonderful. We want to talk about songwriters again. Bon Iver is great. Beauty Behind the Badness by The Weeknd. Confessions by Usher, loved. That's a great album. When We All Fall Asleep by Billie Eilish, Emancipation of Mimi, Mariah Carey, Auntie by Rihanna, 21 Adele, Back to Black, Amy Winehouse, Lemonade by Beyonce, and Norman Fucking Rockwell by Lana Del Rey. Those were my favorites and surprises. Just word vomited all of that at you.
Yeah.
That
Well, you've named a
that's
lot
astounding.
lot of albums that I really love, but I would really love to take the dive and listen to those 500 albums because there's just so much great music out there.
It was so much
Yeah.
fun. I really recommend it for anyone that loves music or wants to listen to new things or just like surprise themselves because it really was a trip just to listen to either so many things that you've never heard before and then you ended up liking or things that even that you didn't like to just be like, oh, okay, well, this was really popular for one reason or another. That's interesting. And also hearing songs that you'd heard before, whether they were like smash hits or not, that you were familiar with, and then just being able to relate them and say, oh, this is where that song came from. Okay, cool to
Wow.
know. It was really fun.
So did it make do you listen to vinyl? Do you have a record player or anything like that?
We do have a record player, and I
Mhm.
have a very small record collection that I have been kind of starting. We don't put vinyls on
Mhm.
as often as we should. We should take advantage of having a record player, but I've made kind of a rule for myself that I will only purchase vinyls if I consider it to be a perfect album. Because
love that.
otherwise, I would spend way too much money
Yeah.
on this vinyl collecting hobby.
Yes.
And so I've made that rule in place. I will only buy it if I consider it to be an absolute 10 out of 10.
That
That
sounds
is
like
that is
another round of
yeah,
topics
that's
too.
beautiful. I
Perfect
love that
albums.
idea. That's awesome.
Yeah, I
Yes.
have a list of ones that I would like to get to have because right now I think I only have I don't know, 5 maybe, not a lot. But I'd like to get more because I do have a list.
See, so I do too, but I never like thought of it like that, but I love that even better. I just thought about albums that I really love that I feel like I should have it on vinyl. Like for me, Purple Rain by
Mhm,
Prince, Off the Wall, Michael Jackson.
mhm.
And there's just a few there's one that's a more recent album. When I say recent, it's probably 15 or 20 years ago, but it was Willie Nelson and it's called Teatro.
Mm.
And it's just amazing album. And it didn't come out on vinyl until like just, a few years ago, like maybe 10 years ago. But that's I love that. I love that. Just limit it to what is
Perfect
greatness?
albums.
What is
Otherwise,
your
I would spend too much money.
yeah. No, I love
I
that. That is awesome. Yeah.
I have a few more questions about this that we need to
Okay.
get to after
Oh,
after this toast.
Mm,
Because it's toast time.
what you
Not
got?
okay.
everybody loves a toast.
Yeah, let's do it. What's happening?
But we gotta make a toast, Jay. Yeah, that was sarcasm. Sorry, shouldn't have done it.
Well, I like to make a toast to music. Without music, there would be no songs. Cheers.
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 Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard, and I missed the Super Bowl the other night. So I've never heard a Kendrick Lamar song. I've never heard a Harry Styles song.
I
There
love
was a
Harry
couple
Styles.
others in there that I was thinking, I don't think I've ever heard. I don't know that I've ever heard an Usher song. So interesting. I kind of want to do the same thing. Just and I did when
Yeah.
a week or so ago when I saw that Kendrick Lamar was doing the halftime show. I thought I've never heard one of his songs. I'm gonna add, and I added a couple of his albums to a checkout playlist that I have just to check out things I've never heard before. So that was five. So how many roughly? How many of them, or maybe a percentage or a number, had you heard before you started down the list?
In full, that I
Or
was like,
just
"Oh, I know a lot of that album." Not a lot, like, pretty much just, like, that modern section of albums that I listed at the end, I would say, and then, like, a couple of the Kendrick albums, and then Billy Joel, I would say, his albums, Bruce, Frank Sinatra, like, some of the popular older ones, but I would say the
yeah,
majority I definitely was not familiar with, or at least enough to I wouldn't have been able to talk about it, you know? If
yeah.
someone, "Well, what do you think about Tapestry by Carole King?" Like, I might be able to name a couple songs, but I couldn't have a conversation
And,
about it.
and that's what
Speaking of that,
I've
I would not have been able to talk about that album until recently when I listened to it. There's a song called Way Over Yonder, and it is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. And I had no idea. Speaking of another great round, uh underrated songwriters, which she isn't, but she's under like most people don't know what great songs she's written. Like she has written some of the best, and like not in her what you would think her would be her genre. Like I heard the earth move under my skin. Like anyway, what were we talking
and
about?
well, and that's what I've never listened to it. I've been aware of it for years that it was a great album that lots of
Yeah.
people loved, and I've never listened to it.
That's why I really enjoyed the list too, because
Yeah.
there's things that you know by name that you might be familiar with, but you just never get around to listening to it, and it kinda just forced you, to give it a try. I tried to listen to 1 album a day.
Mhm.
Sometimes I would do more than 1, and then I kinda fell off at one point and then had to get, you know
Catch back up.
yeah, catch back up.
Because when you're
It's
listening to
so
those
amazing.
500, that's 500 albums worth of your favorite songs, your favorite albums that you're not listening to.
Yeah.
So that's
And it does seem like a lot, and it is a lot, but if you consider, like, 1 album is usually between, like, 40 minutes to an hour. Of course, some are longer than that. I think some on there were, like, even, like, the best of albums, and those would be, like, over 2 hours long, and I'm like, "Ugh." But, you know, we'll say, like, 40 minutes to an hour. That's, like, you half the time in the day. Like, I
Yeah.
would just wake up, and as I, like, got out of bed and was just kinda, like, walking around my apartment, brushing my teeth, or, like, getting ready or whatever, that's just, like, what I had on. Like, you have the time.
yeah, it's very doable. You just have to keep doing it. Start it.
Yeah.
You have to start it and then keep doing it
Yeah.
through all
Repetition.
Yeah.
500. And
Lots
you
of
did you do them in order from 500 to 1 or 1 to
Yes, yeah,
500 or
500 to 1.
all right. And then you
Mhm,
mark in your spreadsheet you mark would listen to again, not
mhm,
listen to again. Were
mhm.
there any that you will or any that you just really did not like and will never listen to again, no matter
Oh,
how
yeah,
much we put
definitely,
them on the
absolutely.
jukebox?
Off the top of my head, I'd have to look at the spreadsheet that I made. I have to go back and, like, jog my memory, but there were definitely some where I was like, "This is rough." Like, this 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 is hard to get through. Some that were just, like, not my genre, like, very experimental, that I just didn't get it really at all.
Yeah. I don't even I looked briefly at the list just because I was I saw that Apple had a list, and then when I Googled that to get that list, then I saw the Rolling Stones one and thought, okay, that's a lot more albums. That's 400 more, and I wonder how many of them overlap. So yeah, that's
And
just astounding. I'm still in awe that you made it through all that.
yeah, I just had to pull up the list. I think this was one of them. There's a self is it self-titled? Yeah, it's by Suicide, called Suicide. And if this is the one I'm thinking of, it was not for me.
Is it like punk or I
Uh
haven't heard of it either.
Not the description is these New York synth punks evoke everything from the Velvet Underground to rockabilly. Low budget electronics are violent and hypnotic. The lead singer screams as a rhythmic device. Late night listening to
Hmm.
one of these songs, a 10-minute plus tale of a multiple murder is not recommended. A droning voice. It I remember it just being like an assault on my eardrums. If this is the album that I'm thinking of.
It's a newer one, right? The one I pulled up was from 2017.
No, this one that I'm talking about came out in 1977.
Oh, okay. I must have the wrong one.
But
Yeah,
most
Miracle
of
Music.
them, I will say there were definitely probably more listens, like yes, than never listen again.
Okay, that's
I heard
good.
it. I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that same approach when I do it. Just a yes, listen again, or no. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what my checkout playlist is. If it's if it passes the checkout
Mhm.
test, then it goes to the good test. So then I add them to the good playlist, and then from there I either get rid of it or put it in another
So
playlist.
yeah, I have a playlist with like new songs that either I'll hear just like randomly on Spotify or I'll hear a song like in a store that I'm at and I'll like Google the lyrics and figure out the song name and then I'll add it to a playlist I have on Spotify that's just called like pending. And
Yeah.
then I'll
Yeah.
go through the pending playlist and listen to them. And
Cool.
if I like it, I'll like add it to a different playlist. And if I don't like it, I'll just remove it.
Now, do you use the Shazam thing on your phone when you're out and hear some song?
I used to have Shazam, but now I just listen to the lyrics and I just like Google as
Uh,
just like rapid fire, or like type in all the lyrics
Gotcha.
as possible. And then usually it'll pop up on like Genius or AZ Music.
Because it's got
Yeah.
a Apple iPhones. If you have an iPhone, it's got like a native thing where you can add it to it, and then you swipe down and click a little S, and it'll listen and tell you the
Still
song, and
did?
then
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
then you can connect Apple Music. I do that all the time because there's a new guy I found. His name is Gil Scott Heron from the '70s. Maybe he's on the
Yeah.
list. Do you know who he is?
He is noted as one of the first rap artists.
Because he's the revolution will not be televised. That
Yeah.
guy.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
we were watching Good Girls Guide to Murder. Did y'all watch that? And one of
Mm-mm.
his songs were on there, and I thought, okay, this is a good song. And I did the Shazam thing, and thought, well, it's a good song. And then it turned out the guy's got really good stuff. And I get, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. The original rap artist, he does have some rap in his.
That's interesting. Wow.
I believe his song or his album Pieces of a Man is on the 500 albums list from when
So
he did it.
you
in
you
20.
mentioned earlier that
Maybe it's not. I don't know.
so
I take it back.
is there an updated list?
Forget
Do
you.
they keep updating it? How does that work?
They updated it semi recently. Let's look. 500 greatest albums. Because I remember, I think they updated it to put Folklore by Taylor Swift on there. I think in 2023 it was updated.
Okay.
I don't remember the first year it came out.
Now I wonder if that's just because they haven't updated it or nothing that good has come out, in their opinion, other than
it's
Tortured Poets Department.
it's so funny you should say that because I'm like, there's so much great music out there. But I keep thinking like there's no way anybody can write a song that's better than this. Or there's no way anybody can come up with anything that's more creative. There's nobody like you think you've heard all the songs.
Does it matter?
And it's like all the ideas have been run out of. It's not going to happen anymore. And then somebody comes along and blows your mind.
Yeah, and there's so many, lesser known artists that they might have their own like little niche fan base or that haven't like quite broken out yet, or maybe they just don't even like want to be mainstream. Maybe that's not their style, that are just so incredibly talented and amazing. And they might never make it on a list like that just because that's not, their lane of notoriety,
Yeah.
but they're still so talented. I
Like
find art all the time where I'm like, oh my God, how is this person not huge?
some of my favorite albums were by people from Dallas that there's no way they would ever show up on
Mhm.
Apple's or the Rolling Stones best
Like the
albums.
Durango Brothers?
Like the Durango Brothers, Pop Poppins, The Spin, Bat Mastersons. They had some albums that were just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, that
Like
was
the
fun.
Durango Brothers?
Like the Durango Brothers, Captain Trips,
Captain Trips.
Crimson Dance. Those were
So those last
Mars
three
A.
were somehow we were involved in somehow. Well, I was involved in the Durango Brothers, but yeah. And it wasn't that great. So sorry. That reminds me
You know
though.
what? It would be 504, maybe 504 best. The Durango Brothers.
I think 10,504 probably.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
If we looked out.
Well, this has been amazing. And I don't remember who started this round, but I feel like it was Shane.
I did. I started it. I did a great job, a fantastic job. People are really talking in the streets about what a great job I did.
Great toast.
Yes,
Great
absolutely.
toast.
I think
Buttery, crisp.
yeah. People are talking. It's I almost slipped into the sorry. Never mind. No politics. So anyway.
It's funny that we knew what we were talking about.
Well, I just want to say I think this was a great topic. I think I had a great time. I think I had a great time. I think
I had a great time. Thank you so
I-
much for having me.
well,
I think
thank
you
you
did
for
too.
being here.
Yeah.
I mean, this could be an entire podcast within itself. Hint, hint. Not a bad idea. I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm saying. Anyway,
Wait, what'd you say?
regardless, kind people who listen to Beer Thursday, please come back next week. We're going to have a great round. Have no idea what it's going to be about because we recorded many rounds before and after this particular round that is coming out. But whatever happens, we're here. We're all in it together. And I think that's mainly the most important thing. So if you like what you hear, please become a patron. If you don't like what you hear, please become a patron. And thank you for listening to another exciting, exhilarating round of Beer